will put something in your path that you really need to hear and ponder and take into your heart. Before we get started, just a short story. When I first heard someone pray to Jesus about coming soon, we want to see you soon, my first thought was, well, gosh, I don't, because I know what that means when Jesus comes, and I'm not ready. And this message today really spoke into my heart about continuing to prepare and be ready because he is coming. So before we get started, let's bow our heads in prayer. Good morning, Father. I thank you so much for bringing us all here today to hear your word, to sing praises to you, to think about what it means to really embrace the fact that you are coming back. Help us to take something from your word today to speak into our hearts and to nudge us just a little bit further and deeper into our relationship with you. We love you, we thank you, we pray this all in your precious Son, Jesus' name. Amen. So, have you heard the term shock jock? Anybody? Yes, me too. But it refers to a person, usually someone who's on the radio, a radio personality, who intentionally tries to surprise or shock their listeners, usually in disturbing and probably disgusting ways. They specialize in the unexpected, in catching people off guard. Somehow, this is a ratings boost for their otherwise mostly boring radio shows. And apparently, there is a good number of people in the population who love to shock others or to be shocked themselves. But in our reading this morning from 1 Thessalonians 5, we discover that God, thank you, is not one of these people. God is not a shock jock. He isn't surprised by anything, and he doesn't want us to be surprised by anything either. Remember these words. You aren't in the dark about these things, dear brothers and sisters, and you won't be surprised when the day of the Lord comes like a thief. For you are all children of the light and of the day. We don't belong to darkness and night, so be on your guard, not asleep like the others. Stay alert and be clear-headed. Paul is writing here about the second coming of Christ, the day that he says will come unexpectedly like a thief in the night. But he also says it doesn't have to be that way, because those who choose to have a relationship with God right now will be watching and waiting for his return. While they won't know the specific day of Christ's return, they won't be caught off guard when it happens. They won't be shocked because they will be expecting it. As we read through the Bible and come to these depictions of the second coming of Christ, it's intriguing to me to read about the descriptions of the people who choose not to have a relationship with God. And Paul mentions those people too. When people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, and there will be no escape. Living in the times that we do, isn't it a little hard to imagine a scenario where everything is peaceful and calm and secure, and that people will actually be admitting and saying that everything is peaceful and calm and secure? There are certainly a lot of people around the globe who are working to achieve this, when there will be no war, no conflict, no displaced peoples running from disaster. And apparently, there will become a time when things will appear to be just that way, even though God warns us that calamity will be right around the corner. Now, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with peace and security, and we should be praying for it every day and hoping for it and enjoying it when we experience it. But we should also remember that what masquerades as peace and security may be anything but. The masquerade of peace is simply, or may simply be, a clever distraction from a disaster that's just waiting to happen. This is why God prepares his people for what is to come, so we won't be lulled into a false sense of security, even though it's very difficult to avoid being drawn in. Especially here in America, where we still enjoy a large degree of freedom and opportunity, it's very hard to not plan our entire lives around this false sense of security. All the opportunities we have here make it easy to imagine that we are in complete control of everything that happens in our lives. And the freedom we enjoy makes it super easy to feel like we are captains of our own ships of destiny, able to save ourselves and to save the world. But in the midst of all our easy living, what does God say? Wake up. Be on your guard. Don't get caught in the web of this world. For while it's true that we make choices every day about our life, and while it's true that those choices have a direct impact on our lives temporarily, we're not just here to live temporary lives. Our lives are headed somewhere. This world is headed somewhere. History itself is headed somewhere. It's on a big collision course with the climactic ending of the war that's been raging in God's universe for thousands of years. But the more we remove ourselves from the mental context of that eternal war that's going on and perceive that we are just here to set up a good life for ourselves and for our kids, the more we are in danger of being lulled into the sleep that Paul talked about in our passage this morning. God wants us to be awake and alert, meeting each day with expectant anticipation for what he's doing in our lives, in our families' lives, in our community, and in our world. He wants us to be ready for all that will happen in the rest of this day, even though we don't know exactly what any of that is. He wants us to take the journey with him, day by day, step by step. He's not looking to shock us. He doesn't want us to be surprised, startled, or caught off guard. The good news about God is that he wants us not only to know what's coming, but who's coming. I think that knowledge is the fundamental difference between those who are anticipating Christ's return and those who aren't. It's that they know him. They know the one who is coming. That's why they're eager to see him. I thought about this for a while. Are you ever really excited about seeing someone that you don't really know? Let alone someone you may be afraid of? Do we really look forward to seeing that type of person? Roy Branson, who grew up the son of missionaries in Africa, brings this out really well in an article he wrote titled, "Dad is Coming." And I'm going to share a little bit from that today. It starts out, Roy says, "During the Second World War, my father had to be away from home much of the time. He had to visit churches, schools, missions, all the way from Iran, Iraq, Palestine, Syria, clear down to Ethiopia. He had to be away from home a lot. But I remember when news came that he was returning, I was very happy. I knew that he would probably bring trinkets with him, a leopard skin or a monkey tail fly switch. I knew that the picnics at the pyramids would return. I knew that Mother would start teasing him about being a great hunter, and Dad's great laugh would start rolling through the house again. I knew he was coming back, and I was happy. Now, it's interesting how our attitudes change toward the arrival of people according to what we think about them. I remember when we came back to the United States, I experienced a thunderstorm, a lightning storm. I was scared to death because I thought this meant that God was coming back, that the Lord was returning. I knew if he was, my salvation was closed, I wouldn't be saved. I wasn't ready, and I was scared to death. Now, I think that probably has some implications. Why was I very happy to see my human father come home with all of his foibles, including at times a healthy temper, and yet I was scared of my divine Father with perfect love? I think the difference was that I knew my Father. I had jumped on his stomach, ridden on his shoulders, kicked him in the shins. We had traveled down through the Red Sea on a boat together. We had come back through the Ethiopian mountains on trucks together. We had slept in cots, in villages, in the mountains, threatened by hyenas. I knew my Father. When he was away, I missed him. When he was returning, I was happy. But this God? I didn't know him. Oh, certainly. I knew about the young Christ, the one we hear about in family worship, the one we hear about in Sunday school. I liked this young Christ, who reminded me of my brother Bruce when he treated me right. But this other God that was coming at the end of time, I didn't know him, and I was afraid of him. Do you know him? Are you afraid of him? Because he is coming, friends. He is on the way. Everything that's happening in the world right now is moving us toward the day of his next advent. I thought about this a lot too. We spend a lot of time in church talking about Christ's first advent, which is totally awesome and great. But you know, I think we really need to spend just as much time in church talking about Christ's second advent. For we may not know when he's coming, and we may not know exactly how he's coming, but we shouldn't live a single day without the awareness that he's on his way. It was one of the last promises Jesus made to his disciples before his death and resurrection. And it's usually one we reserve for funerals, but it's good to recall it at other times too. Can anyone think of what I'm thinking of? Which one, Shirley?
Die for everything.
Oh, close. That would be good. But no, this is from the book of John, chapter 14. Starts out very familiar. My Father's house has many rooms. I am going to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare this place, I will come back to get you, so that then we will always be together. That's what we have to look forward to. Finally seeing our beautiful, marvelous, forever friend face to face. And he is just as eager to see us and to be with us forever and ever, in a place with no more pain, no more hurt, and no more sorrow. So please, let's not forget, no matter what happens to us today, tomorrow, or next week, whether this world we live in is in chaos or at peace, if our lives are going along just great or if they're turned absolutely upside down, let's not forget to stand at the window and watch every day. For we all have a daddy who loves us dearly, and he is on the way.